Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I'm going to speak with you today about something I have a little bit of experience with, and that is healing a broken heart. And if you're out there and you're in some emotional pain, I really do empathize with you, and I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through. And we're going to help you gain some comfort and some insight into just why you're going through what you're going through. Um, I don't have notes this morning. What I have is my blog. I wrote a blog on the topic, and I'm reading off my phone, so I might be a little distracted, but I'm gonna read, and then I'm gonna commentate as I go, and I think it's gonna work. So almost all of us have had our hearts broken at one point or another. It could be the dull, numbing drip, drip, drip of the relentless Chinese water torture of a long, loveless, lonely, disconnected marriage. I see couples like that all the time who come into my office and they're just so bone weary and tired, and whether it's disconnection or combat, they bring in loads of pain, and their heart is broken in a more subtle way than uh, the next one. I called it a blitzkrieg of discovering that your spouse is having an affair. Or there's a lot of blitzkriegs of facing the end of a marriage, of facing a separation. So I really am sorry that you are hurting so badly, and I know that the pain can be overwhelming. In my men's group, there's a fella who went through a great deal of loss and a great deal of pain and struggle and difficulty. And he said that if you just get out of bed in the morning, get your shoes on, and put one foot in front of another, it's a victory. So I asked him, I said, if I just get out of bed and put my shoes on, is that enough? Can I crawl back in bed after that? But if you're still struggling with the trauma of having your heart broken, then I'm going to share some things that are working for me. I can't say that they've worked, and I'm all better and I'm all healed and I'm doing cartwheels down the hallway at Family Tree. I'm not. I'm still grieving and struggling. But in human nature, it's very natural to focus specifically on the hurtful behaviors of the other, of our significant other. So many times people come in and we look out from behind our psychological defense mechanisms, and what we see is the ball dropping and the bad behavior of the people who've hurt us. And when you do that, your pain is going to be made so much greater. It would help you to shift your focus to your own issues. It makes your pain many times worse to overfocus and to feel victimized. It feels like there's something unfair about the wounding that this person put on us. Your pain is not about the person who left you or hurt you. Your relationship has something that you instinctively set up to reenact the unresolved wounding of your childhood. That's what love is. And I've had so many couples, when I say that to them, the first words out of their mouth is, well, that sucks. You kidding me? I go through my childhood and I experience crappy stuff and hurt, and you're telling me that my marriage actually is a reenactment of that? Yeah, unfortunately, that is exactly the truth. I wish it wasn't, because my childhood was a disaster, and my love life has been a very painful journey this past 10 years because of the childhood stuff. Your pain is about you. It's an opportunity for you to heal as you never have before. It wasn't done to you, it was done because you recruited the perfectly wrong right person whose very nature it was to wound you in the deepest way possible. I was able to locate somebody who could abandon me very severely, and to have sort of a false attachment to me. But that isn't about what was done to me. It's about, that's the wound I had from my childhood, and very much so I've been able to heal more than I ever have before. We basically fall in love with our worst nightmares. When we rightly see our spouses or partners as part of a well thought out cosmic healing process, then we can embrace our pain as the gift that it is. And we can stop seeing them as the enemy or the bad guy. When couples come in and they really understand what marriage is, they cease to see their partner as an adversary. Their partners become like their therapy buddies. And the environment in the therapy room is not antagonistic. There's no finger pointing. And it's a beautiful thing when people stop being defensive, stop throwing rocks, and they start having empathy for each other. Examining our side of our relationship equation gives us an opportunity to know more about ourselves, and to get to know ourselves more deeply than we ever have before. I really was in a little delusion about who I was and where I was in my life, and now I know, and now I can do healing that I'd never had the opportunity to do. Relationships rip down denial and defenses that keep us from knowing deep and ugly truths about ourselves. Our relationship pain is meant to be redemptive. If you're in a relationship, then at some point you're going to get hurt pretty deeply, either in that slow Chinese water torture way or in the rip the Band-Aid off right away way. It's going to happen. Romantic love rips open the scabs of our deepest wounds. There's a sad, needy little kid in all of us. People come in and they're focused on their marital pain, and I redirect them to the wounded little kid that's at their core. And it's a beautiful thing then when they're able to cry, and when they're able to stop being bitter and start really healing the main issue. We are wounded little kids putting up strong fronts that ultimately serve to push people away and isolate us. So your marital wounds are giving you an opportunity to dig up that wounded little kid and have you not be so isolated. So here are 3 things that are working for me. And like I said, by working, I don't mean that I'm anywhere close to being better after 3 months of grieving. I mean, what they have done, these things, is reduce my pain. They've given me some direction. They give me comfort. They've helped me through some tough days and given me some much needed hope. So, first thing I can say would be, if you're really sad about anything, it doesn't have to be marital issues, then go to therapy. Get yourself in to see a therapist. I was working with somebody who had a loss in their life, and they scrambled around to fill the void instead of really searching in their soul as to what it was that hurt so incredibly deeply. Your pain is trying to teach you something. I myself have been to a zillion therapists in 56 years, but I recently started the process over with a new therapist. And what that has done for me is give me a fresh set of trained eyes to look at some stuff that I might be way too close to the forest to see the trees myself. A good therapist will connect the dots that you didn't have much of a clue about before you started therapy. A good therapist will tie together the patterns that were birthed in your childhood that have become your dysfunctional way of being in your adult relationships. So get some perspective, find a good therapist, get in front of them and start pouring out your heart. Don't do this alone. My goodness. If you're really hurting, and it's great that you have a friend to talk with or a family member, but they're not going to probably be able to give you the help that you need. So get in and see a therapist. The second thing is really important, and that is embrace your pain and cry until you're done crying. Nobody likes to cry from the wound of a broken heart. I've cried so much. I've been through 50 boxes of tissues. I've cried until I didn't think I could cry anymore, and then I cry some more. Crying's a little bit like throwing up. Once you let it rip and get it out, you'll feel better. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel all washed out. It's surprising how many uncried tears most of us carry around inside of us. Crying heals us. If you don't have the strength and the courage to cry, then you're probably medicating your pain with something. Alcohol, work, a new relationship, food. Pick your poison. What gets called depression a lot of times isn't depression. It's just tears that need cried. And if you have the courage to cry them, then you will heal and you will work through the grieving process. It usually helps to have somebody there. I find it difficult to cry alone. It's sort of scary to cry alone. But if you have a therapist or a sponsor or a friend or a family member or a significant other, then as your tears come up, just let somebody wipe your tears away. It's a beautiful thing to see somebody cry from their wounded little kid. And it's even more beautiful when their partner empathetically truly sees the little kid and then comforts them tenderly. Getting to see that is the most wonderful thing about my work. I've probably told this story before, but I worked with an older couple, and this fella had severe abandonment wounds. His mom was mean, and he tried to get away from her because she was so mean. His first wife, mean. Second wife, mean. Sitting there with the third wife. His complaint about her, she's mean. So we were talking about this man's mother and his childhood. And very out of character for this fella who felt more at home on the golf course with a scotch in his hand, he had a big fat tear that slid down the side of his face. And this mean third wife, who was filled with so much frustration for him and had felt so abandoned, she reaches over and she wipes that tear away. Just so tenderly and sweetly. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about, as a couple, healing a broken heart. I wish I would have had the opportunity to do that work in my relationship that ended recently. I would give my right arm to be able to do that work, but that wasn't in the cards from her direction. But if you have that opportunity to heal your wounded little kid in the presence of your significant other, then that's a great gift. And if you don't have a therapist, I'll help you. Anywhere in the English-speaking world, I can do Skype therapy with you. And it helps so much to have your issues named. It's hard. It's hard to have a therapist open, a spotlight on your issues and really cut you open and really say true things about you, but it beats the alternative. The third thing that has helped me so much is number 3, get all the support, get as much support as you can from as many safe people as you can. It takes a village to heal a broken heart. It really does take a village to heal a broken heart. I've received wonderful support from so many special people, and I could name 50 people who've contributed to my healing and the growth that I've had, and every one of them has been a gift. You need to ask for help, though, because people are busy. You need a whole team of helpers and healers. 1 or 2 people don't have enough time to address all the help that you're probably going to need. Don't isolate yourself. The world is filled with loving, caring, wise, nurturing people. It feels good to get an encouraging text, or to get a hug, or to have breakfast with a caring, supportive friend. I'm so thankful for all the very special people who've helped me. Take some risks. Join a support group. Go to a workshop at a treatment center. I want to mention On-Site Treatment Center near Nashville, Tennessee. They have workshops on trauma. They have workshops on love addiction. They have couple workshops where you just go down there with your significant other and work for 3 or 4 days solid. Be vulnerable with a friend. Soon you'll have a healing heart team that can envelope you and your broken heart until it's all but completely healed. I got an email just this morning from a recovery friend, and she wrote the following about her process of grieving and brokenheartedness. As someone who has been grieving and hurting for a long time and very deeply, I love tears. I'm comfortable crying them and seeing them in others. I believe them to be an absolutely wonderful gift from God to the brokenhearted. So, Mark, I think maybe you are now able to allow yourself to grieve over the sorrow and the loss you've experienced, and that means you are healing. As I shared already, and in my experience, I've seen the healing that comes from allowing oneself the gift of grieving and aching, and it still comes. I'm aching right now. So it's okay to be sad. We're all human. This is a gal I met down at On-Site, and she just was just an encouragement and a spiritual encouragement to me as well. So next week I'll talk more about folks with broken hearts, but don't think that you have to have a crisis in your life to have a broken heart. If you have a marital issue that's gnawing at you, the universe is trying to talk to you, and it's telling you that things could be better, and timing is everything. I had a couple that I worked with before my break, my spiritual enlightenment, shall we say, and they were always a couple that they looked good on the outside, and things were never broken enough for them to really be desperate enough to really do their work. I go off for over 2 months to heal and to do the work that I needed to do. I come back and I notice them in the waiting room, and there's a darkness, in the waiting room, and there's a sadness and there's a desperation. I noticed it from 20 feet away. What had happened was time had eaten away at their defenses, and some deep down issues had come to light and come out, and they were in 3 times more pain 2.5 months later than they were when I left them. And that's a gift, folks. If your marriage is eating at you, do something about it. Pay attention to your pain and get in and see a therapist. And if you go to the right therapist who's gifted and who's a good match for you, particularly as a couple, miracles can happen. And it's all about both people being able and willing and ready to do the work. And I've got multiple couples that are just filled with heartache right now, but they're also brimming with hope. And sometimes they don't necessarily see the hope, but I do, because I see 2 people who are really able to do the work, whose hearts are open, 2 people who are highly motivated to fix themselves because they really see who they are, 2 people who are really open-hearted and teachable, 2 people who have the courage to embrace their pain. I'm going to show you a little something here. I got a tattoo during this process of my healing, and the tattoo is, as you can see, of the word courage. And really, this process has taken all the courage that I could summon, and then some. Sometimes life has a way of stripping away your defenses, and even your courage is laid bare. And that's where the putting one foot in front of another comes in. I had a couple call me on Saturday, and they were feeling hopeless and just so sad and so overwhelmed. And I guess the message I'm trying to say is, a broken heart is fearsome, and it's awful, and it's brutal. But there are gifts deeply embedded in that opportunity. And if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling broken, if you're feeling sad, I can help you. And I can help you in your marriage, given if your partner is ready and able to do the work. So embrace your pain, find some community, and get in to see a therapist right away. And these things will be the beginning of a healing process where your marriage can be healed. And if it isn't healed, I was working with a couple this week, and I said, I hope you guys aren't together in 5 years if things are this way. You guys are miserable. Fix it or put it down, because you're already divorced. You just haven't had the courage to make it official quite yet. So embrace your pain, folks. I know it's hard. I feel your pain, and I empathize with you. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, we're over 4,000 and gaining about almost 300 people every 28 days. So our message is reaching people all over the world, and I know that God has a calling for Family Tree, and I think you can feel the heart wisdom that I've come by with great suffering and tears, and I can share that with you and help you get to a place of healing. So also visit our website, familytreecounseling.com, And I've got books on there about abandonment, about affair recovery, about shame that can help you a lot. And you can just download them directly from the site. So thank you for watching today. God bless.